Hey guys, Tom Barclay here. Just thought I'd do a little update on how I see the Morgan Gibbs-White situation. I've been off a couple of days, so I haven't done anything since Friday, when the last video, when it all felt like a bit of a shock signing from Spurs' point of view, but it felt like it was all going very smoothly, very quickly, but very smoothly with Morgan Gibbs-White. But obviously a lot has changed since. Been working today and sort of caught up to date with latest developments and even sort of broke a bit of news early this morning regarding where we're at on that front. Obviously it's a bit of a movable feast, so by the time you watch this video maybe something's changed, but as I am led to believe at this time, sort of close of play on Monday, this is where we're at. So obviously Spurs realised there was a release clause of about £60 million. They made an offer, and Gibbs-White was due to go to, or was expected to be at a medical on Friday, which would have followed up the £55 million signing of Mohamed Kudus from West Ham. Two very, very good players, particularly Gibbs-White, in very exciting news for Spurs. But it then emerged that Nottingham Forest were very unhappy with two things, specifically regarding the Gibbs-White deal to come in, or the proposed move for Gibbs-White from Tottenham. They threatened to make a legal complaint, and that was what I wrote about this morning being Monday, that they had actually filed that formal complaint. Now, I believe that will be with the Premier League. I can't see if it would be with anybody else. I understand that Tottenham have also been made aware of it. I think it would have to, as in Forest would get in touch with Tottenham on that. And basically it's two things. One is the fact that Forest feel like that Tottenham spoke to the player without their permission, and also they want to know how they became aware of the release clause, because it was confidential. At least in their mind, it was confidential. Gibbs-White did report to Forest training this morning at just before 9 o'clock. So it wasn't like he went on strike or anything like that, as other players, Victor Gyökeres going to Arsenal, very much a example of that. Someone didn't want to train at Sporting Lisbon to try and push that move through. Haven't seen any of that, at least yet, from Gibbs-White's perspective. He did turn up to training, although he was wearing a white t-shirt and blue shorts, which could have been just coincidence, but maybe it was some sort of message. I don't know. Where do I see it being at? My understanding is, whilst first of all, with any complaint, if it made to the Premier League, they are sort of obliged to look into it. I would be surprised, and this is the good news, I guess, from Tottenham's perspective, which is all fans really care about. These feel like the sort of the ins and outs of how deals get done. No one really cares about. They just want to know if the player is going to sign for them. And my understanding is that it is likely that this deal will go through, but Forest are not going to make it easy for Spurs. They're going to make it difficult because they're not happy with how they've gone about it. But I'd be surprised if it didn't happen in the end. I'm not sure how that works exactly. Maybe even if they have to pay a bit more money. That's just an opinion to make it happen. Because even if they're unhappy about the confidentiality of this release clause, nonetheless he does have a release clause. So if Spurs pay that, then the argument would be that should trigger it, and that should be the end of it. But we wait to see on that front. I understand that Forest have been trying to get Gibbs-White, or been keen on offering him a new contract the last year. He's got 2 years left on his current deal. And we're even willing to either get rid of the release clause completely or up the release clause, increase it. But he's not been interested in doing that, at least during his time being. He is keen on this particular move. So that's where we're at the moment, waiting to find out what happens, where we go. I hope you can't hear my dog in the background barking. That's where we're at with Gibbs-White. Like I say, I'm expecting it to go through eventually. I don't know how long this is going to take, this sort of hold up, but it is just making it a bit more of a sort of tricky one to get done, and Forest aren't happy, so they're wanting to, they seem to be of the mind to make it as difficult for Tottenham as possible. But provided it does go through, I think he's a fantastic signing. Let's believe that he's the kind of dynamic number 10 that Thomas Frank really wants in his side. I mean, again, as I sort of questioned when the video the other day, how this leaves James Maddison, or whether he just wants more than more than one, and he sees Gibbs-White can play in different roles as a sort of squad game, particularly with the Champions League. I don't know, but regardless, he's a fantastic player who's really come on leaps and bounds. There's a reason why Manchester City were interested in him. You know, from the player that I sort of spoke to a few times when covering the under-21s, when he won the under-21 Euros back in 2023. He's just gone on leaps and bounds, and you can only, and I suppose a real mark of what a good player he is how disappointed the Forest fans are to see him go, provided he does move, because he's just been their talisman, a brilliant player. You know, along with Anthony Elanga, who's gone to Newcastle, two real key players for Forest, and Thomas Frank liked him at Brentford when he was manager there, and now he'll be hoping that he gets his man when it comes to Tottenham. So that's where we're at the moment. Just a little short update on where I see things at the moment. Like I say, to reiterate, I think it will probably get done eventually, but proving to be a bit more complicated than the news on Friday when it all sort of broke, or Thursday maybe it was. So he seemed to suggest when it was all moving very, very quickly. So let's, I guess, stay tuned, see what happens, and let me know what your thoughts again are on Gibbs-White. Cheers, guys.